Okay, welcome. Let's wait to see who joins. Please take a moment, hit that like and subscribe button. I hope everybody's doing well. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry? Let me know. Positive, negative, or neutral. It's crazy how all of these um how my 1 a.m. streams always seem to do better than my 1 p.m. streams. 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I always use Eastern Standard Time times. Must be a bunch of night owls on the stream like me. Today, I guess technically today, I always want to say tomorrow, January 3rd, today at starting 10, I'm going to be streaming hour streams with an hour break. So 10 to 11 Eastern, I'll stream, 11 to 12 break, 12 to 1 stream, 1 to 2. The reason being, apparently, according to YouTube, there's a whole bunch of my audience who's finding their way to watch me, or at least is on YouTube on Saturdays and is available. I never get around to watching to streaming on Saturdays, so I want to give it a shot and try it, and just see how it goes. I got a big nose. I know. I've grown to accept it. That shouldn't stop you from hitting the like and subscribe button. In fact, if I'm stuck with this terrible nose, if anything, you would think that you would want to support me more by liking and subscribing, since I'm dealing with this whole situation, you know? You'd think you'd be a good person in that way. Please, and share the stream, do a 99-cent super chat. Welcome. Let's chat about Freemasonry. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry? Positive, negative, or neutral? I'd love to hear. Oh, my light is kind of weird. Let's see if I can get a better light. I think that looks better. Also, I got my hair cut, so now I'm more aerodynamic. Any thoughts you? Ugh. Freemasonry refers to a civic organization or community group, almost like a club that has existed for about 300 years. Some would say it is the oldest civic organization in the world. It would not matter if I was or wasn't Christopher. What matters is I'm a Freemason and they don't discriminate based on sexual orientation. So, no comment. What you should do is hit the like and subscribe button. If I was trans, it wouldn't matter either. Are you a subscriber to the podcast? That's my question to you. And let's see, obviously, it seems like at 1 a.m., the trolls are as awake as anybody else. Not really, because Scientology, to my understanding, Scientology is a religion, and Freemasonry is not a religion. But certainly, just like not just Scientology, but any group organization, it seeks to fulfill the human desire to belong to something. I think as groups do, whether they be religious or otherwise. But Scientology is more of a religion. Freemasonry is a civic organization or a civic group. Um, what, water? I drink water. You should be drinking more water. I'm not a doctor. I guess talk to your doctor. I'm just giving you the advice of drink more water. The 33rds I met are extreme. I won't tell any of the 33rds I met. I've met many 33rd degree Masons. They're all good people in my experience. I think sometimes people can just rub you the wrong way, right? Depending on my cat's behind me right now, depending on just their character, their behavior, whatever it might be. But I found 33rd to be generally good, cool people. I'm a 18th degree Mason myself. I am Rose Croix. That is true. I don't know anything about Scientology, Nivik, but I'm not going to be one who, knocks anybody's religion or religious beliefs. If they find comfort within, being a Scientologist, then good for them. I am Canadian, born and raised in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Currently live in Windsor, Ontario. And don't you forget it. That's an old expression. When I hear people say, and don't you forget it, oh my gosh, my cat just knocked over my light. I always think of like, that sounds like something from like I don't even know when, from like the 1920s, it sounds like he's going to call you a whippersnapper. Arn, there will not be a third temple soon, I don't think, or maybe there will. I have no idea. That sounds to me like religious, theological speaking. And I know nothing about theology. the extent that I care about anything regarding, I assume you're talking about the temples in Jerusalem. I mean, Freemasonry borrows a lot of symbolism and philosophy from the original temple and King Solomon. Yes, I got a potato head. Please hit like and subscribe. Um, we all get what we deserve sooner or later, I suppose. Please take a moment if you are new to the stream. Let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry, any questions. I hope I'm answering the questions I've got so far well. Follow me on social media, check out my podcast episodes, all that good jab. Good jazz. Nebuchadnezzar, that's a name. Well, I mean, Freemasonry really, it shouldn't be sending invitations, quote unquote, in that way. Now, certainly they can have open houses and dinners for the public and invite people to hang out with them and learn more about the craft. But you'll never be invited to join Freemasonry. Rather, you need to make the first effort. I've never been on any islands in my life. Well, I mean, Freemasonry is not a belief system, it's a civic group. So asking if Freemasons believe in Western medicine would be like asking if your local knitting club believes in Western medicine. Like it's a membership-based organization. It doesn't require a specific set of beliefs. What I will say is I believe in Western medicine and I'm very grateful for Western medicine. There's 850,000 Freemasons in the United States. You'd have to ask all 850,000 of them kind of what their views are on Western medicine. I would hope that most would, for the record. Um, I mean, having health issues doesn't stop you from being a Freemason. I was born missing both of my legs and I have other health issues. I mean, if the health issues are such that you need to focus on getting better and you don't have time for any other activities beyond medical care, then I certainly understand that. But if you're concerned that having health issues will preclude you from being a Freemason, that's not the case. Um, and to you as well. Um, I never grew my legs. I don't have any legs. That's not how it works. You don't grow your legs. I never had them. I lost them when I was born. So I didn't lose them. I was born without them. So yeah. But I mean, it doesn't bother me. In some ways, I'm grateful that I was born in 1983 in Canada during a time and in a place where having no legs did not preclude you or stop you from living a pretty great life. Michael Tuttle, I am on here to talk about Freemasonry because I love Freemasonry. I love talking about it. I've shown people in the past. Here, you can at least tell this. I'm on in a wheelchair. See, look at me wheel back and forth like this. I have zero legs. I don't know what three or two means. I have zero. Um, well, you should hit the like and subscribe button, Mr. Badass. Jump on the chat. Let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry. Ben Day. All right. Well, I do not believe it is possible to summon demons. I don't believe in any of that stuff. What I will say is you should not be kind of making a mockery of anybody's religious beliefs, whether it be demons or otherwise, but I'm not one who believes in that stuff. Uh, what? No? I mean, this? No, just scratching my head. Sabati, you're gonna go insane if you start looking around for random Freemason signs. I am a Freemason. I've been a Freemason since 2007, so almost 20 years, which is absolutely crazy to think it's been that long. Many Freemasons are Christian in particular, and they would have already found Jesus. Freemasonry is not a religion. So when it comes to religious questions, in terms of things like salvation, that is a matter for your religious beliefs, including Jesus, Christianity, or Muslim faith, whatever the faith is. When it comes to, as you say, not even so much protectors, I wouldn't put it that way, but being part of the community and being good citizens within the community, I do think Freemasonry can illuminate the ways to do that. Monkey wrench is a weird thing to say. People are always weird about my ethnicity or questioning it for some reason on streams. My dad is from England. My mom is Canadian. I am a Scottish Rite Mason. I'm 18th degree Scottish Rite. We kick butt every day. We kick butt metaphorically in the sense of we kick butt and making the world a better place. Morning Minotaur, I hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here. By the way, I don't know if everybody saw, but I had an excellent December 2025. I posted it on YouTube. My channel, this channel, got 4 times more views than usual. So thank you to everybody who helped make that possible. Frank McCampbell, thank you for being here also. I used to play wheelchair basketball. I used to play that quite frequently. For obvious reasons, I've never played soccer. I'm sure, honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if there was some type of like modified soccer for people in wheelchairs where maybe it's like, I don't know, they use wheelchairs to move a ball. I have no clue. I've never heard of it anyways, but I mean, they modified almost every other sport. They modified basketball, track, which used to do. They've modified, hockey. So I'm sure they'll find a way. Handball, there you go. Well, Mr. Badass, with statements like that, you seem like a very angry person. I may be an idiot, but I'm not useful to anyone, I would say. And I don't know what crypto Jews are. Jewish people are, part of Freemasonry and a wonderful group, as is all the other groups that are part of Freemasonry. I don't know how many people who are involved in cryptocurrency are Jewish. Um, I mean, I think most aren't, based on my understanding. Hello, my Mason. Hello, the philosopher king. The world would be a better place if ruled by philosopher kings. Um, well, to be a Freemason, you don't need to be a Christian. It welcomes men or women for that matter, but men of any faith and belief. If your political party doesn't like Masons, that's fine. But, Freemasonry is not political. So, it's not as though, like, if you're a Freemason, you're automatically left wing or right wing or conservative, liberal, or part of a political party. Again, there exists within society a space for political questions and a space for politics. There exists within society a place for religion, and there exists within society a place for civic institutions and civics. And Freemasonry occupies the third space and leaves the former 2 spaces up to the individual's choice. Nice try, Kieran. No. Well, I was a joke because somebody called me useless, and I said, or somebody called me a useful idiot. I said, maybe I'm a useless idiot. I don't have, I mean, when you say role, like there are offices within Freemasonry. I'm a worshipful master of a lodge. Freemasonry does not have a specified role in society, no different than any other group, except that it occupies the space of a civic institution. And so, like any civic institution, it fosters bonds of friendship and brotherhood between community members, provides a social safety net and support for community members, and encourages community members to look upon each other in a more positive way, as well as their community as a whole. I may be or may not be Jewish, Mr. Badass. I don't say, because Freemasonry does not discriminate based on one's ethnicity. I am not a vegan. Yes, I finally got my hair cut. It was getting way too long. It was driving me crazy. So, I'm very, very happy that I finally got my hair cut. Religion, I mean, some people may say purple bunny rabbit, that religion, please hit like and subscribe, that religion should go or should not go. It's not really my place. I mean, I think religion provides a lot of value to society and has throughout history, but it's not my place to speak on religion, except to say that Freemasonry is not religious, nor is it a religion. Not Jesus 3. Do you believe in Jesus? I'm not a Christian. That's one thing I will say, because a lot of people ask me that, but I know many Christian Freemasons. So women can become Freemasons. They can become Freemasons by joining the Order of Women Freemasons, or the Eastern Star, which is a Masonic group, or Co-Masonry, which is a liberal order. Masonry is not a Jewish tradition. Arn Saibo, the tradition of Freemasonry primarily dates to stone Masonic guilds within the Middle Ages, 15th and 16th centuries. Um, Do I believe in Judaism? I mean, I am not religious. I believe in a supreme being, but I'm not one who believes in any particular religion, be it Judaism, Muslim, Christianity. I respect those who do and think that, they contribute much, but I'm not one who believes in any particular religious faith. I mean, I have to know more about the Amish to say Vice City. Arn, you could be a Zionist. That's fine. Again, Zionism is a political ideology. Freemasonry is not political. So there are some Freemasons, I'm sure, who are Zionists and others who are not. Well, I mean, I think that's at the Anderson constitutions, right? Not necessarily the first Grand Master, but they called Adam the first stonemason, which technically, if you take the Bible literally, then he would be by definition, right? He would be the first everything. He'd be the first stonemason, the first carpenter. He would be the father of Freemasonry in a sense. A lot of like Mackey actually said that Noah was the first true stonemason and called us like sons of Noah. But again, that's because after the flood, it was Noah and his sons that rebuilt cities using stone. So, but I always take that not as literal, but as metaphorical. We don't have Solomon's Temple anywhere. Solomon's Temple was destroyed many years ago. Some parts of a Masonic lodge are meant to represent Solomon's Temple, but they're also meant to represent other things as well. It's not exclusive to Solomon's Temple, right? They're meant to represent architectural epochs in history. They're meant to represent the lodge or the tent where stonemasons would actually gather on refreshment on job sites. The place where they would gather was called a Lud, L-U-D, and that got translated into lodge, hence Masonic Lodge. Yes, Aristotle, your uncle got it correctly, absolutely correct. We don't recruit. It's not even so much we're not allowed, it's just we don't recruit. It's not our tradition. But certainly if people are interested in joining, they are welcome to approach the lodge and express their interest. What is Israel to the Freemasons? Well, I don't know, Ahmed, if you're referring to the modern Israeli state, which again, that's a political question. Every Freemason has their own opinion on that. I'm actually a member of a Masonic lodge in Israel. The lodge, Holy Land Lodge out of Tel Aviv. In terms of, you mean like historical and King Solomon and Israel in biblical sense, I mean, certainly Freemasonry borrowed a lot of symbolism from, Israel, the biblical Israel, but we borrowed a lot from Chinese mythology too. It's and Muslim and Christian and Stoic philosophy. Ultimately, it is just one metaphor that we use when developing rituals. Freemasons do not worship the devil at higher levels. Freemasonry, again, it's not a religion, so it's not about worshiping any entity, whether it be the devil or anything else. Individual Masons will worship their own, understanding of a supreme being. Again, whether it be of the Muslim faith, the Jewish faith, the Christian faith, but there is no like Masonic worship. That's not the right word. Yeah, I know many Muslim Freemasons, especially in Dearborn, Michigan. Great dudes, great parts of the craft, proud to call them brothers. The old charges refer to a series of manuscripts, Mr. Keeps, that date from around like 1350, I think. The first one was in Italian, to like 1723. And I think it ends with the Anderson Constitutions. I used to know all the names of them. It's been a while. I mean, the Regius poem is the one that most people think of. The Anderson Constitutions. Oh my gosh, let me see if I can find the list. It's like 100 documents or so, and really it's focused on primarily how stonemasons should act and interact with one another. So Bologna was the first one. It was written in Italian, and yeah, there's a whole bunch. The first English one was the Regius poem, which dates to 1390. The Regius manuscript it's called. There's also the Cook manuscript, which dated afterwards a little bit. I cannot, Vice City. What do I know about the Knights Templar? The Knights Templar, I mean, they were a kind of quasi-religious military order that formed during the Middle Ages, or sorry, that formed during the Crusades to escort pilgrims to the Holy Land. They developed the first system of international banking, famously ordered to be executed on Friday the 13th. When Freemasonry was developing itself, they developed a York Rite and rituals within the York Rite that were modeled after the Knights Templar, because the kind of not even so much the religiosity, but the I would say the dedication and the idea of protecting, others, as well as obviously again the idea of Freemasons borrowing symbolism and mythology from Israel, from the Holy Land. King Solomon was very appealing. Um, what are your views on the Antichrist? I have no idea. So, beam or skirt, thank you, Thomas. I appreciate that. What level Freemason? Don't think about it in terms of level. That's not the right way to think about it. The way you want to think about it is rank and, degree and office. Excuse me, degree and office. I am a third degree Master Mason, which is the highest degree within Freemasonry. And I am also have the office of Worshipful Master of my lodge, Border City Lodge 554. Level implies like superiority, inferiority, like superior level, inferior level. Freemasonry, after the third degree, it's all equal. There are no inferior or superior levels. I don't know what my views on the Antichrist is because that's a religious question, specifically a Christian religious question, and I'm not equipped to be able to talk about it. Other than I know many believe that an Antichrist is coming. I guess what I would say is my biggest concern, and this is me personally, is that I would hope that if anybody does believe the Antichrist is coming soon, it does not stop them or cause them to become despondent or stop contributing to the world that exists right now. Because whatever is going to happen in the future, we have a world that exists today. We have people in it who need help. And I hope that we help the people we can. Um, I don't, I mean, again, what do you mean by I don't donate to Israel? I don't donate to any governments. That'd be weird. Um, right? Again, you can't donate to a state. It'd be like, I don't donate to Canada. I pay my taxes. I don't live in Israel, though, and I'm not an Israeli citizen, so I wouldn't pay any taxes there. So I don't know what that means. Well, what I'll tell you, the globalist is I'm a Mason. I would not consider myself wealthy, at least monetarily. You can help me with that by doing a 99-cent super chat. I will say I'm wealthy in other ways. I'm wealthy in friends. I'm wealthy in experiences. They say when you're rich, you don't take pictures, you just see things again. I take a lot of pictures because I'm not rich. And when you say successful, again, define successful. I would say I'm successful in many aspects of my life, but not in terms of wealth or fame or power. You may be meeting people who are telling you they're Freemasons and are not. The Globalist channel, please hit like and subscribe. You need to keep that in mind. Not everybody who says they're a Mason is. And also, not everybody who purports to be wealthy actually is. A lot of people like to pretend to be wealthy and provide like the illusion of being wealthy to impress people without actually being wealthy. Although in that case, I would hope it's not Masons doing that because Masons should always strive to be truthful. Um, you're so lost. That's fine, Joe the Toe. You can be out of here. Lodge 14, Joel Smith, welcome. I don't know what Lodge 14 means because, I mean, lodges have numbers. Like, I'm a member of Border Cities Lodge 554. If your lodge is number 14, that is very, very, a very old lodge. 555 does not mean anything to me. When I see that, I think 5 by 5, and I think of Faith Lane. If you know, you know. Santa Claus, welcome. Please hit like and subscribe. 3 degrees, but different rights based on path of knowledge. There's a good way to look at it, Jared. I mean, 3 degrees, but different rights. The point is, though, if you're a 33rd degree Mason in the Scottish Rite, it's not as though you're 11 times greater than a 3rd degree Mason. That's not how it works. No, the rituals do not involve human sacrifice. That would be very uncool. And I would not join an organization that had such a thing. Um, where is my Blue Lodge? I'm a Mason out of Windsor, Ontario. I'm actually a member of 5 different lodges, but my mother lodge is Windsor, Ontario. Um, I don't think anybody is superior to anybody else, Mr. Badass. I don't think that's how it works. So it's a very silly question. Um, Arn, again, you're asking like these weirdly specific political questions. I keep trying to explain, Arn Sebo. Freemasonry is not a political entity. It doesn't have political, like, every Mason decides for himself. So when you say, do Masons support Donald Trump? I mean, I'm sure some Masons support it. I'm sure some Masons don't. Some Masons love Donald Trump. Some Masons hate Donald Trump. Those are political questions. You need to understand there is no asking, do Masons support this political project would be like asking, does your grandma's knitting circle membership support this political? Every member will decide for themselves because we're not a political organization. What are the goals of Freemasons? The goals of Freemasons, that depends. Each Freemason will decide for himself. There is no specific goal. For me, the goal, I mean, other than at its most basic level, the goal of Freemasonry is to fulfill the human desire to belong to something greater than oneself and to enjoy each other's company. It's no different than what is the ultimate goal of a guy's night out, which in many ways is what Freemasonry is. It's just a more formalized version of a guy's night out. I mean, to enjoy each other's company because you like hanging out with the guys. But then every Mason may have his own goals within the craft. Like for me, I believe my goal within Freemasonry is to try to build a better world or better community through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth. I think others, their goal is to make new friends. Others, their goal is to develop certain skills in areas of like meeting management, civic engagement, memorization skills. Others, it's the goal is just to be a Mason, and that's as far as their goals go. So every Mason has their own set of goals with the craft. Beyond, at the most basic level, it's to enjoy each other's company in the same way you do at a guy's night out, which really is the basic, goal of almost any club or organization. If you're part of a reading circle, you know, if you don't enjoy each other's company when you're reading or talking about books, it doesn't matter that you're not going to last long because the ultimate goal, the reading is just the excuse. The ultimate goal is to enjoy each other's company. Um, Joel Smith, you seem very weird about gotcha. I don't know what that means. What are your views on the genocide in Gaza? I mean, I would say I think what's happening in Gaza is heartbreaking. Whenever anybody who's innocent, especially, is killed. I'm a member of a lodge in Israel. I'm proud of it. I've said it a million times. You have to separate the people from a government. So while I have grave concerns with the government of Israel, me personally, that doesn't apply to the people of the country. Um, Freemasons, Olivia, are different than Rosicrucianisms. Arn, everything is political. That would be a very sad way to live your life, Arn. I would suggest that you may want to reconsider living a life where you view everything as political. Well, I never said I was Jewish. I may be Jewish. I may not be Jewish. The reason I don't answer the question, Mr. Badass, is because there's a cruelty behind that question. If, for example, I were to go to somebody's house and, offer to paint their house, let's say I was a painter, and I go to get a job painting somebody's house, and they start asking me, are you Jewish? Are you gay? Are you this? Are you that? There's a cruelty in that because it shouldn't make a difference. All that matters is how good I am at painting one's house, and nothing else should be relevant. I'm here to talk about Freemasonry, and that's, the goal of this channel. So when you're asking me about my ethnicity or my religion, the implication is there's a judgment there that's foolish, right? My goal is to talk about Freemasonry. It shouldn't make a difference if I was Muslim or, Islamic, Jewish, indigenous, black, white, Christian, gay, straight. None of that stuff is relevant to the question of what I know about Freemasonry and what I can share based on my experiences, right? The other reason you may be asking it is because you fall into the conspiracy theories that Freemasonry is a Jewish organization, which shows a lack of intelligence on your part. Zero Cope. Why do you have to be in a group? You don't have to be in a group, Zero Cope. By the way, please hit like and subscribe. You don't have to be, and there's no rule that says you do. I happen to be, for whatever reason, and this is something that reflects on me, I enjoy being in a group. It's something that I feel like gives me a sense of purpose and helps me, try to build a better world. But there are other people who may not enjoy being part of a group, whether it be Masonic or otherwise, and that's perfectly reasonable for them as well. And I hope they find something on an individual basis that brings them happiness and comfort. Um, I do just like to talk, Swelby. You're not wrong about that. I love talking. Um, no worries, Zed. If you're going to be on stream, you have to get used to stupid questions. Yes, you're going to deal with idiots like, you're going to deal with idiots like Mr. Badass, which, my suspicion is Mr. Badass is living a very unhappy life. And so be it, right? It's one of those things where you kind of are stuck. You have to take the good with the bad. There's a lot of good on YouTube. There's also a lot of not so good on YouTube, and you just kind of accept. Um, the Globalist Channel. What originally guided you to Freemasonry, and how do you know it's for you? Those are great questions. So, Legend, Jesus, are all Freemasons Zionists? Again, Zionism is a political question. Freemasonry is not a political organization. So, there's 850,000 Freemasons in the United States, about approximately. You would have to ask all 850,000 of them. Some will say they are Zionists, some will be, some won't be. There is no, it's like asking, are all Freemasons, of a political ideology? There's a space for politics and there's a space for civic engagement. They're different. Freemasonry encompasses the latter, politics and Zionism included, is in the former. I can tell you, me personally, I would describe myself as a Zionist. I mean, I'm a two-stater. I think you need two states, a Palestinian state and an Israeli state, but that's my own opinion for whatever it's worth. So what originally guided me to Freemasonry? It was my family. My dad was a Freemason, and so I always assumed that I would join sooner or later. He didn't push it on me or talk about it or tell me I had to join or anything like that. It's rather I just saw him enjoying Freemasonry. I went to Christmas parties at the lodge, and I always kind of just assumed I would join sooner or later. I knew it was for me. I don't know how to describe it. The best way I can say it is when I became a Mason, I chose to remain because I liked the way it sounded. I know that sounds strange, but it's like, how do you know your favorite song is for you? It's just you like listening to the song. When I'm in a lodge, I hear the ritual. When a meeting goes well, I it speaks to me. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel a way that I feel when I'm listening to my favorite song. And that's something to a certain extent, there's a leap of faith. Not everybody's going to feel that way about Freemasonry after they join, which is perfectly fine. It's not for everybody. Um, so the Masons never disbanded the Templar Knights, the Dustiest Cowboy. They're different organizations. The Templar Knights were in, the Crusades. Freemasonry was about 400, 500 years later is when it started. Because when you got this face, you don't need anything else. My face is so handsome, that's all you need. How much time? Well, Michael, that is up to you. So Freemasonry, especially in uh, Ontario and many places in North America, they will always say your work and your family comes first. So what that means is, if you join Freemasonry and your work commitments and your family commitments are such that you just can't attend lodge, then you can't attend lodge. I would recommend you give, if possible, you give um, regrets, advise the lodge you can't make it. But at the same time, that becomes an issue of would you want to join a Masonic lodge if you never can attend a meeting, if what you do rather is just um, pay your dues every year and never show up on the assumption maybe you'll show up later. But I mean, it's kind of up to you. I mean, I'm at the Masonic Temple almost 4 nights a week. I know some brothers who are at the Masonic Temple once a year. Really, it depends on you and how much time you want to give to the lodge. Well, I've been told, Mr. Keeps, that I need to go harder at people saying dumb stuff on the streams. So I try not to, but every now and then it seems like if somebody's being foolish or asking the same questions over and over again, you kind of gotta push back a little bit harder. At least that's what a lot of YouTubers are saying when I kind of chat with them about this, because otherwise, other people who watch the stream, who see people being foolish, if I don't call it out as the host, then they leave because they feel like I'm not calling out the nonsense. Well, Freemasonry definitely borrows some ideas from Gnosticism, Ahmed, but it's not Gnostic per se. I wouldn't use that term for it. I mean, if you had to describe Freemasonry in philosophical terms, I would say it is a philosophy based on metaphors derived from stone masonry. So almost it's a philosophy of blue collar work, or it's a philosophy of craftsmanship. Um, might be the best way to put it. So yeah, craftsmanship styled philosophy. I would not agree with you on that one, Barrett 1850. So, I mean, Freemasonry is still a club. Um, I mean, I'm not going to say there's never been any Freemasons who've been involved in governance. Obviously, George Washington is the most famous example. But I would say the majority of politicians, even in the past, but certainly since the 1960s, have not been Freemasons. In fact, the vast majority. I've been a Freemason for 20 years, and I've known five, actually not four politicians who were Freemasons, all of whom at the municipal level, none beyond that. So I guess you can take that for whatever it's worth. I am a Master Mason, Mopor. I'm a third degree Master Mason. I've also reached 18th degree Scottish Rite. Um, I mean, the Dusty's Cowboy, Freemasonry is a brotherhood. It's not exclusively, I wouldn't use the term just a brotherhood because it's more than that, but it is a brotherhood. It's also a civic organization. It also has charitable components to it. But at its core, it's a brotherhood in the same way going for a guy's night out is a brotherhood. This is just one that is more and greater, has a greater level of um, formality, history, community, and civic engagement. Well, Mr. Badass is rocking out the anti-Semitism. Can anyone join? Raleigh asks. So you can join Freemasonry if you have to be an adult, so over the age of 18 in the States, 21 in Canada. You have to believe in a supreme being, and you have to go through the application process, including meeting the brethren, getting to know them, and having them vote on you. But anybody can, if nothing else, approach a lodge and express an interest in joining. And you should. A lot of people will say, I don't think they'll take me, so I never bothered to approach. And it's like, why not give them, don't prejudge. It's like approaching a girl at the bar or at the club where you're at. Just go approach. The worst they can say is no. You should not be afraid to at least try, though, and ask. And again, so long as you're an adult, so long as you believe in a supreme being, and so long as you're willing to go through the application process, which includes filling out the application, getting to know the brothers, and them getting to know you. Little does he know he's his own grandpa. Absolutely, Mr. Keeps. I don't know what that means. Which is awesome, Arn. Like there are, Arn Sabo, I never want to imply with Freemasonry that it's the exclusive way to find a connection with your community, with other people. There are a myriad of ways to do so, and everybody should find what works best for them. Some people know right away, and that's great. Like they join one thing, they fall in love with it, and that's the thing from which they gain their sense of brotherhood. But for a lot of people, they have to try a few different things, which is great as well. But if you find a sense of connection through your church, when you're in the church, all the power to you. Um, you don't have to be brought in the dustiest. I wouldn't, that's not the term I would use. you have to be, you're voted on, um, and if the vote's successful, then you join the Masonic Lodge. But brought in isn't the right term because you have to be the first, you have to take the first step. You have to be the one who first goes and asks them, about joining. No worries, the Globalist Channel. Thank you for your question. Um, so it definitely does not 1850. The other thing you need to keep in mind, and this is one of the biggest mistakes Bear's child, I'm going to call you 1850, that people make when they talk about the higher level and lower levels and how foolish that is. Let's imagine you got rid of the higher levels of Freemasonry, quote unquote. And we're going to say you got rid of degrees 15 through 33 in the Scottish Rite, because most people view that as the higher levels. So there's no more 33rd degree, no more 32nd degree, all the way down to the 15th degree. For 99% of Freemasons, nothing would change. I'm not saying it's a good thing because I love Scottish Rite. I'm proud to be 18th degree, but nothing would change in their day-to-day Masonic experience. York Rite wouldn't change at all. The Shrine wouldn't change at all. Community events, some of them would change from the Scottish Rite. Most of them would not. The craft degrees would not change. Eastern Star would not change. The youth groups would not change. So the point I'm trying to make when I say that is when you want to look at what's actually truly important and necessary for Freemasonry and what actually calls the shots, it's the craft lodges. It's the first 3 degrees. That's the most important thing. That's the foundation on which all of Freemasonry rests. Even if I don't, I'm not granting you this because it's not true, but even if you were to grant that the 33rd degree is the quote unquote devil worshiping, which it's not, that degree is, represents 1% of the Masonic experience for 1% of the members. It's not relevant, right? You never want to judge. The closest thing I could describe it to is, let's say you're a member of the armed forces in the States. You're part of the Army, and you find out that the highest ranking officers in the Coast Guard, which is also the armed forces, are up to shenanigans. You're not going to say, well, the armed forces of its entirety are baloney, or I'm going to leave the Army. They're separate groups, separate orders, So I hope that made sense. This idea of higher levels and lower levels is silly. But to the extent that Freemasonry is reliant on anything, it's the first 3 degrees. That's one of the biggest mistakes people make with Albert Pike. They read him, and as a consequence, they assume that he's speaking for Freemasonry. He's really relevant to the Scottish Rite, and not even all of Scottish Rite. He's relevant to Scottish Rite Southern jurisdiction. And as I say all of this as a Scottish Rite Freemason, as somebody who loves Scottish Rite Freemasonry, and as someone who believes it contributes greatly to the craft, but it's not the basis on which the craft rests. That's the first 3 degrees, or craft lodge, if you will. Thank you, Charlie. For heaven's sakes, the Freemasons did not take my legs. I just want to say that clearly for everybody to understand. The Freemasons did not take my legs. Masonry is a brotherhood. I share a lot about my Freemasonry with other people, and I love doing so. There are certain things I won't share, but I love sharing much about Freemasonry because it's something I love. I love talking about it. I don't do this, because I expect anybody else to join or not join. I do this because I love talking about it, whether it be the Scottish Rite, the York Rite, which I'm not a member of the York Rite, but I know a little bit about it, or my craft degrees. I have not tried psychedelics. The Count, I can share every secret. The Count 1701, I choose not to. And the reason I choose not to is not because I'm worried about, getting in trouble. It's because by sharing the secrets, it would be limiting the bond of brotherhood I have between myself and my brothers. Dakin, absolutely. Freemasons are human beings, and we're brothers, in fact. And what do brothers do? Brothers love each other. What else do brothers do? Brothers fight. Brothers absolutely fight with each other. Hopefully, never physically, but there's definitely disagreements. I will say Freemasonry provides a beautiful crash course or training course in conflict resolution and how to deal with conflicts maturely, responsibly, and effectively. And Freemasonry is also a democracy. So if two brothers disagree on how to run the lodge or how to operate a lodge, that's no problem at all because at the end of the day, they can both make their pitch to the lodge and the lodge will vote. And whatever decision is made is made. Honestly, I've often thought that when it comes to dispute resolution, people could spend way more time looking at Freemasons and to how we resolve our conflicts and our disputes because there's a lot of value and a lot of skill, especially being a worshipful master. If you know two brothers are in disagreement, how you manage that and how you resolve that. And I've seen worshipful masters do an absolutely exemplary job at resolving conflicts. We're at 69 people watching this right now. We got over 79. Thank you so much. This is the highest number I've ever had watching a live stream. I'm truly grateful for that. Please, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. I'm truly grateful that you guys would be here. 64 now, it's still the highest number. I'm truly grateful that you guys would jump on this stream and hear me blather on about Freemasonry. And I hope I'm answering all of your questions well. If I'm not, please forgive me. I'm not getting to everybody's chat because there's so many of them, but I'm doing my best. Mikey UCC, thank you for being here. Jesus, you're welcome to pray for me. I mean, I'd be honored. I'm always grateful if people wish to keep me in their prayers. Well, Freemasonry is not the occult, the count, except for the most like basic definition, as in hidden. There is within Freemasonry certain private knowledge or, private ceremonies, private rituals. I wouldn't even call it private knowledge. Calling it private knowledge is not the right approach to take. Private ceremonies is, which I choose not to share. There were so much transformations. Yes, I know. I know why that happened too, Dak. And I know why that. Well, one of the reasons is because Buzz Aldrin was a Freemason and he was second man on the moon, and John Glenn was a Freemason. It's unfortunate because I love space and I love science, and I'm greatly admiring of the Apollo missions and landing on the moon and how it pushed us forward. I'm grateful for that. So I think it's really unfortunate that both the moon landing itself gets kind of pooped on by conspiracy theorists, and then on top of that, that Freemasonry gets pooped on by conspiracy theorists. Freemasonry, Caesar, is not demonic, nor are Freemasons demonic. Freemasonry is not a religion of any sort. So, I mean, it's not demonic, it's not religious, it's not a religion, I should say. But Freemasons is a civic group and a civic organization. Well, yeah, Raleigh, I'm sorry that you met a terrible human being who was also a Freemason. Freemasons are human beings. I wish, I could say that we were somehow better, but we're not. We're human beings. And because we're human beings, some of us struggle. We have bad days. We can be a-holes. We can treat people badly. We shouldn't. And I think the beautiful thing about Freemasonry is if you are respectful of and pay attention to the lessons which it illuminates, it definitely will encourage you in a more positive way. However, that's not to say that Freemasons can't, fall off the path of trying to be the best versions of themselves and the best civic community members. I've never heard that, your ma'am. That seems weird to me. I don't know why you would make them swear in a Bible that they've went when there's video evidence. Do you think Prince Hall is your brother? I love Prince Hall Freemasonry. Yeah, I don't know if you mean Prince Hall, the person who hasn't been around, he passed away a couple hundred years ago, but I think Prince Hall is my brother, but I think Prince Hall Freemasonry is a Masonic organization. We recognize them in Ontario. They're a wonderful group. They are absolutely my brothers, and they provide a great deal of I'm not sure what the right term is. They provide a great deal of They make Freemasonry better. Say it how you will. So I'm honored to call myself a brother of Prince Hall Freemasons. Like, genuinely honored. I think they're a great group and they have contributed greatly to Freemasonry. I used to know if there were lodges in Egypt. I forget. So there's a couple of different reasons why Egypt is important symbolically to Freemasons. The first is the pyramids. They're made of stone. Freemasonry evolved or grew out of stone masonry from ancient, from the guilds. So any buildings that are constructed primarily with stone, especially if they're famous, are going to be important for Freemasons. So the pyramids. But also, and on top of that, the thing you need to remember is when Freemasonry was growing and developing its rituals and its ceremonies, Egypt and Egyptology was huge. It was a major part of like the lifestyles and the life of the time. That was the ages when you'd have people from England traveling to Egypt, raiding tombs. I'm one person watching me from 100. This is incredible. Thank you so much. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. I'm truly grateful for everybody here. I'm honored to have 99 people watching. And so they would have like, it was the time of King Tut's tomb and tomb raiders, and people just loved Egypt. There was this crazy amount of like ancient Egyptology. And so the Freemasons, when they were developing their ceremonies and rituals with the purpose of kind of bonding brothers who shared experiences, they decided to use, amongst other things, ancient Egyptian symbology and ancient Egyptian mysticism as a way to do so. But at 100, my gosh, what an honor this is. Thank you guys so much. It's been a long road to get here, but I got 100 people watching me. Thank you to everybody who has been here when I had, 2 people watching me at one time. This live, James, about Freemasonry. But you didn't just see that with Freemasonry and Egypt, is kind of my point. You saw with American presidents loved Egypt. British royalty loved Egypt. The general public loved Egypt. You had people going to check out mummy exhibits and mummies, and it was just a very popular kind of motif and aesthetic at the time. That's why, for example, in most Masonic lodges and buildings around the world, they will have, they will have within it like an Egyptian room where it's designed with decorations meant to look like ancient Egypt. It's really, really cool. Yes, explore Pelagie. They will. Not in all of the UK. You're not wrong. 4880. Please hit like and subscribe. Carlin Baker. It was a bit of grave desecration, and I think it's unfortunate. It was a huge fad, Doc, and you're right. So not in all of UK, but rather at the Metropolitan Police level, which is London. Now that is the biggest police force in the UK. I'm actually one of the few people who's not automatically opposed to it. I'm a Freemason myself. I can understand the concern regarding conflict of interest. My issue is, why is it exclusive to Freemasonry? In my opinion, anybody who joins, who is part of a group or organization which has, let's say, over 20,000 members nationally, whether it be the Freemasons, the Elks, the Moose, the Rotary, should have to declare their membership, and not publicly, but to their superiors. Because conflict of interest is a real thing. It's something that people need to think about and need to consider how best to resolve. 104. This is incredible. Thank you guys so much. What an honor this is. Like I said, I've been doing this stream since I had 2 people watching me. 104 people is amazing, and I'm grateful. I don't know what y'all trans means. Whether I was trans or not would not make a difference to being a Freemason. It shouldn't anyways. And it definitely shouldn't make a difference to me being on this stream and talking to you about how much I love Freemasonry. There are many Moose Lodge members who are Freemasons, but they're not directly connected. Rather, they're both civic organizations. They both kind of occupy the same space in society, which is civic engagement. And honestly, I love the Moose. They're a great organization. They're a great group of guys. I really hope and really wish that the Moose continues along with Freemasonry, along with the Elks, along with the Knights of Columbus. Get those likes up. We have 108 people watching. Hit that subscribe button. So Freemasonry, Uncle Fester, is not a fault. Is not a cult. Freemasonry is not a cult. It is a civic organization. Um, Daily news, you can be opposed to Freemasonry, but I would hope you might reconsider by watching this stream and at least hearing my experiences with Freemasonry and how much I love it and enjoy it, and why I think it makes the world a better place. And Freemasonry is definitely not a fertility cult. Carolyn Baker, Freemasonry has closed in many towns, unfortunately, as the numbers have dropped. As the monetization has, sorry, I'm just looking at my YouTube thing here. As the numbers of Freemasons has dropped, and it got more and more expensive to maintain lodges, and the monetary amounts got more and more expensive because you have less and less members. Many small towns have lost their Masonic lodges over the years. It's unfortunate, and bigger towns as well. I have no idea what that means. I do not know what a pistachio lodge is. I think about the pistachio nuts, which is one of my favorite type of nuts. I love pistachios. So the Shriners and the Job's Daughters are both Masonic groups. The Shriners is an independent body. Job's Daughters is a Masonic youth group. So I'm not sure what you're referring to there, Ahmed. I mean, keep in mind it's Alexandria, Virginia. It's the, probably one of the oldest Masonic jurisdictions in America. I'd keep that in mind. Oh, Daily News, Albert Pike. I swear Albert Pike has become my greatest enemy. So Albert Pike was a Mason out of Nebraska, born in Boston. You have to take morals and dogma with a huge grain of salt. He was giving his personal opinion. He was not speaking for the craft. He was, to my knowledge, a Luciferian, which, to my understanding, what that refers to is they don't believe that Lucifer, or Albert Pike did not believe that Lucifer and Satan were the same being. Rather, that Lucifer was more a Prometheus type figure that brought knowledge. But the thing about Albert Pike was he does not speak for the craft. Freemasonry is decentralized. There is no single governing body or single governing voice. The rules and regulations and bylaws under which I operate in Ontario, they don't apply outside of Ontario. And anything that's written about Freemasonry in Ontario does not apply to, let's say, Freemasonry in Texas. Albert Pike was writing for a specific jurisdiction, which was the Southern jurisdiction, and a specific rite, which was Scottish rite. One of the best quotes I ever heard of it was a Mason who was a York Rite member. He's part of the Knights Templar. Somebody said to him, well, Albert Pike says this, and his response was, well, I'm a York Rite Mason. I don't give a shit what Albert Pike said. And he's absolutely right. His Masonic journey has nothing to do with Albert Pike, who was one man who gave one set of opinions 100 years after Freemasonry was already well established, or more than that. So that'd be my answer to that. Thank you, Caesar, for the prayer. What level am I? Don't think about it in terms of level. Think about it in terms of degree, and think about it in terms of offices. Because level implies superior and inferior, and that's not what we have within Freemasonry. What we have are degrees and offices. I am a third degree Master Mason, which is the highest degree within Freemasonry. I'm also 18th degree Scottish Rite. My office is Worshipful Master of Border Cities Lodge number 554. Honestly, when I'm not doing this and not in Masonic Lodge, I try to talk about anything but Freemasonry, your mom, Kool-Aid, just because my job, I'm trying to turn this into work, is talking about Freemasonry. So when I'm not talking about Freemasonry on stream and when I'm not at a Masonic Lodge, I'm trying my best to talk about anything but Freemasonry. I'll talk about my love of scary movies. I'll talk about my love of professional wrestling. but like I need a break at some point. If all you do is talk about Freemasonry, I promise you, you will drive yourself absolutely insane. You need to be so careful that you don't allow yourself to get burnt out. And as somebody who has gotten burned out by Freemasonry, I'm doing my best to try to find more and more ways to separate myself from it at times. Because if it takes up all your brain energy and your brain space, you're going to get sick of it, and you're going to make everybody around you sick of it as well. In some ways, Mark David, I mean, it's definitely a club. I wouldn't call it an old boys club. I'd call it a civic organization that in many ways is equivalent to a guy's night out. Um, Daily news, I'd love to. And maybe you can do an interview on my channel. I mean, what I'd say is daily news. Um, Shoot me off an email at info@squareandcompass.ca. That's the best way to get in touch with me. Or you can send me a message through Instagram, sorry, let me just get my Instagram username. Square_and_compass_promotions. That's Instagram. North Nathaniel, this channel is about Freemasonry and how much I love it and why I think it's a force for good and just my experiences with it. It's really to promote the ways Freemasonry was and is relevant to the communities in which it's located. And right now, what I'm doing is asking again, please, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. This has been the highest. Like, I've got over 100 views on this live stream. It's incredible. I never thought I'd get that many. I remember when I started this live stream, I was averaging like 3 members at a time, maybe 4. Oftentimes I'd go an hour and get one person watching. I'm grateful for that one person who stuck around, because, without them, I wouldn't have the 91 people I've currently watching and the over 100 people I've had. But I guess what I'd say is, just keep in mind if you are a new streamer, it's tough at the start, but just keep going. You'll get there. What is Freemasonry exactly? Freemasonry is a civic organization. It's a civic community group, a community club, a community organization. That's the best way to think about it. It evolved from stonemason guilds of the Middle Ages. They're actually probably the most famous Harley race, which is so cool. Harley race is incredible. The streamers, I mean, I'm not against Christ Caesar. I'm not a Christian though. So I believe Jesus was a real individual, like a historical figure. I don't believe in the supernatural aspects, but that's my own personal opinion. There are many Christians who are Freemasons. They're wonderful parts of the fraternity. Dakin, have you ever seen any accurate depictions of Masonry on film or TV? This is going to sound weird, and I want to make sure I say it correctly. So in terms of the rituals, completely inaccurate. In terms of some of the feelings surrounding Freemasonry, the Simpsons Stonecutters episode, like, there's this one scene in that episode where Homer is like, or what is it? They're all talking about what they're going to have for dinner, and the dude played by Patrick Stewart goes like, and for dinner we will have ribs, and everybody cheered and went like, yay. I've been in Masonic meetings where the worshipful master announces dinner is going to be ribs, and literally everybody's cheered. What Simpsons episode, Homer the Great, the Stonecutters episode got right was that Freemasonry is about the desire to belong to something and the enjoyment you get when you do belong to something. So I hope that made sense. The rituals are not bad. The rituals are ways for Freemasons to develop bonds through shared experiences. I mean, rituals, I guess, can be bad, but I tend not to think of rituals in a moral terms as good or bad. I think of rituals as serving a purpose, and the purpose of ritual, especially in a fraternal or civic group, is to create bonds of brotherhood through shared experiences. Well, the Catholic Church can condemn whatever it so chooses. I've known many Catholic Freemasons. They're all, we in Freemasonry do not condemn the Catholic Church. I've known many Catholic Freemasons. Um, the Catholic Church has their views on Freemasonry. They're incorrect, in my opinion, but that's for another day, basically, because that's a whole conversation and a half. I mean, Fred, you're not completely wrong. Rituals are memes, in a certain sense. I would say rituals are more like metaphor. Sorry, memes are closer to metaphors than rituals, to be honest. Mark, I mean, short answer, no. Long answer, I do believe that we should, as Freemasons, be willing to give minute books that are, let's say, over 100 years old to historical societies, because there's a lot of really interesting historical information in those minute books that, historians would be fascinated by. And honestly, if you go to your local historical society, some of them have minute books from Masonic lodges that were lost. So, but I wouldn't share any of mine with you because they're not mine to share. They belong to the lodge. Um, so that's not quite true. Caesar misorder. Any Catholic that is a Freemason, technically, if the rules are being followed, the Catholic Church or the priest is supposed to deny that member communion in church, which is different than excommunication to my understanding. However, that is assuming A, the Catholic Freemason advises the church so they know it, or B, many priests I understand will just look the other way and not enforce that rule and still give communion, even if they know the person is a Freemason, because maybe they've known him for a while or they understand what Freemasonry is. I mean, in places like, for example, Brazil and the Philippines, where Freemasonry is incredibly prevalent and is in fact growing, the Catholics represent a significant portion of the Masonic population. Um, I don't know a lot about Luciferianism, so a good Lutheran won't join them. I'm sure I've known Lutheran Freemasons. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I don't know much about Lutheranism, to be honest, but I understand it's a type of Christianity. Um, so balls, I'm not going to talk specifically about any Masonic rituals or reenactments. For that, you got to join. What I will say is Hiram is actually he's referenced in the Bible as just Hiram, no last name. Um, Everything in Freemasonry is a metaphor in terms of the rituals. The purpose is to create bonds through shared experience. The thing itself is a ritual that is metaphorical in nature. So there are certain lessons that you can develop, including or illuminate certain moral lessons that can be illuminated, including the lesson of steadfastness, perseverance. And honestly, I'll just say this in general terms, not specific terms. The Julian Jaynes Society talked about this, if I recall correctly. There's a real value in remembering and being aware of our own mortality and how that can be a motivating factor to encourage us to both appreciate our lives and try to accomplish what we can during them. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know if you saw that high altitude. I've had over 100 people on this stream. Did you get your postcard, by the way? I'm hoping you did. If you didn't, I'm going to try to resend something soon. I've been finding that trying to mail stuff to the States has been more challenging with, even if it's a letter with tolls and postage and stuff. High altitude, I know that your stream has been going really well also. Everybody, if you're watching this and you get a few moments, I hope that you'll check out the high altitude investing stream. He's been crushing it lately. He does a great job. Um, I have a copy of I mean, I don't know what that is. The Holy Bible, the Great Light of Masonry, 1934. So I don't want to say for sure because people can just write, anything they want. And then in the same way now you can make any video you want and say anything you want and say you're a Freemason. You could always, write anything in a book and then say it's Masonic. I need to know more about it and what it actually is. I mean, there are Masonic Bibles, but those are the King James Bibles that happen to have a square and compass on the cover and happen to, have a space in the front for Masons to sign. I mean, individual Freemasons, unfortunately, are human beings, so we can have prejudices, but we shouldn't. I will say Freemasonry officially does not and should not ever discriminate against anyone in the Islamic faith or the Muslim community. I've sat in lodge with many Muslims. I'm proud of doing so. They're an excellent part of the craft. So no, Freemasonry does not discriminate against the Muslim faith. Honestly, if I was part of a Masonic lodge and there was discrimination against any religious group, whether it be Muslim, Christian, Jewish, whatever it is, I wouldn't stay because it's not right. Yes, Joseph Smith was a Freemason. Um, I mean, again, Caesar, I don't believe in reviling any religions, whether it be Mormonism or otherwise. So I'm not going to call it a demonic cult. I don't think that's right. I think they're a group of people. To my knowledge, they're Christian, but either way, they believe in a supreme being, and that's what Freemasonry is concerned with. Um, Scrobe, Scroble, I can't read your name. I'm a great big boy. Um, I mean, so again, I think North Nathaniel, the issue is when Freeman, like if I were to say to you, you're getting out for a guy's night out. Let's say you and 10 of your closest friends, and let's say you're all guys, are going out to a bar for a guy's night out. If I were to say, what do you believe in? You'd say, well, me and my friends all believe in different things. If I said, what systems do you use in life? You'd say, we all have different systems, right? Freemasonry truly did start with no specific beliefs or purposes beyond the desire to be around other people. Like that's literally why it started. It was stone Masonic guilds in the Middle Ages, so trade unions, and then non-trade union members asked if they could pay money to be part of the group. And basically they weren't going to build things from stone, but they wanted to be able to say they were part of an organization to get the social safety net quality of it, and also just to be part of a group, to be part of a lodge, to be part of something. And beyond that, everything sprung up and developed from that initial desire to be part of a group. That's why they started to, for example, develop rituals and ceremonies. It was to formalize the process of getting together. That's why they, you know, bought buildings and created lodges. It was to create a more formalized version of nonetheless the desire to be part of something. And then from there, every kind of Mason, based on his own kind of internal desires and beliefs, they all kind of took Freemasonry in these different directions, right? Some believed primarily that Freemasonry should be charitable in its nature. So they either, encouraged their Masonic lodge to be more charitable, or they started the Shrine, which is primarily a charitable organization. Some thought that the focus should be on like a social safety net system and helping the brothers within the lodge if they fall on hard times. So they developed benevolence funds and, put aside money. So if a brother needs help, that brother can get help through benevolence, right? Some honestly just wanted a drinking club and, would sit through the boring administrative meetings with the goal of going out afterwards for a beer with the guys, right? There's a million different kind of ways and reasons that people join Freemasonry. For me, my belief as a Freemason is that the world can be made better through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth. Um, so Fred Uckers. So if Masonry went against your principles, well, no, Fred, let me rephrase. If a Masonic lodge went against my principles, I would leave the lodge. I wouldn't leave Freemasonry. So for example, if I went to a Masonic lodge and I discovered that they were discriminating against people based on race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, I would not remain in that lodge. If I was a visitor, I would leave. If I was a member, I would demit. But I wouldn't leave Freemasonry altogether. I would just, go to other lodges that I believe fulfill the principles of Freemasonry. Because in my I have my very strong beliefs in what Freemasonry represents and what it should represent. At its core, I believe it represents universal tolerance and respect. And if I found a Masonic lodge that was not engaging in those things, I would leave that lodge, but I wouldn't leave Freemasonry, right? And that goes back to kind of what I talked about earlier. People will say, I heard this Masonic lodge did this. First of all, it's very likely that what you heard was just wrong, right? But let's say that Masonic lodge did do something stupid, because people are stupid, Masons are people. That doesn't reflect on the whole of Freemasonry. That reflects on that one particular lodge. And I would just choose not to go there. There are literally millions of Masonic lodges represented by thousands of different jurisdictions in hundreds of different countries, right? You need to keep that in mind. What's up, Eddie? Thank you for being here. You would hope so as well, Mikey. Unfortunately, there have been times where that didn't happen, and that sucks. But again, my solution to that would be I would just not be part of that lodge. Eddie, great to see you. Thank you for being here. Six pack, gonna have to put you in a timeout. I have got 55 people here, and that is incredible. I've had over 100 people on this stream, which is amazing. I remember when I had 4 people at most on I'd stream for 5 hours and have 4 people watching. I support LGBTQ, of course, yeah. I support if you're gay, if you're straight, if you're lesbian, if you're trans, you do you, more power to you. So, North, that's a good question. When most people, including me, talk about Freemasonry, I'm usually talking about it from the fraternal side of it because that is the majority of Freemasonry. So the fraternal side of it, like my lodge, it's men exclusive. It's just men, it's just a fraternity. However, there does exist within Freemasonry the Order of Women Freemasons, which is a wonderful group. They are for women exclusively, and they are women Freemasons. There's also Eastern Star, which is for men and women within Freemasonry. There's also liberal orders like that have co-masonry. So, would you ever consider gay marriage? Well, if I were to consider gay marriage, it would be if I was gay, and whether I'm gay or not doesn't matter to this stream or to me being a Freemason. So maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't. The bigger question, would I ever consider marriage, whether to a man or woman, depending on my sexual orientation? I'd love to get married one day, but right now I'm just so busy focusing on this and Freemasonry. I don't have time to think about marriage or a family, but maybe one day. I do think Mr. Badass is proposing to me. Well, Mr. Badass, you seem like a very stupid person, but even being an idiot, I think you could do better than me. So if you are, trying to marry me, maybe I would suggest you set your sights a little bit higher, at least to somebody a little bit more handsome. LGBTQ, I have no idea what that means. Serving my Redeemer, living God's boundless truth, qualifying for his grace. I am not a biblical expert by any means, so I can't speak to Ephesians, but sounds good to me. I try to let them down softly. People have been telling me on this stream and also to YouTubers I've been talking to that I need to be a little bit more forceful with dumb people on the stream. I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt. My assumption genuinely is Mr. Badass is probably just leading a not so great life, and the way he deals with his not so great life is to come on streams and kind of talk nonsense. And it does make me feel like I hope he finds a better life and a better purpose. But I have been told by people that I should be more forceful in calling out kind of certain people on streams. So I'm trying to figure out what the right balance is. Again, I never want to send anybody away. I try not to ban anybody, but I am going to try to be more forceful with foolishness within the stream. Um, if that makes sense. Hello, Tiffany. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. I hope you'll, thank you for joining. So, my Colin Dawkin, whenever I hear that, I think Dream Warriors. Dream Warriors. Go Dawkin. I mean, I don't know if I'd use the term calling to join Freemasonry. I think what I'd say is I decided to join Freemasonry because my family, my dad was a Freemason. I grew up kind of going to lodge events, seeing my dad as part of Freemasonry, and I just always assumed I would join. Like I never felt called to it exactly. It's just I saw how it made the community better. I saw, I think, in some ways, how it made my dad better, or at least gave my dad a kind of a sense of purpose. And he seemed to really enjoy it. So I assumed I'd always join Freemasonry. That was kind of my calling. I've been in the craft for almost 20 years, which is crazy to think 45. I joined Freemasonry in 2007, which is nuts. Please hit like and subscribe to everybody watching. CZX, what's decent? Chocolate face. I'm not going to fall for that. I love the Knights of Columbus. They're an excellent group. They're an excellent organization. They can be against the Masons if they want. I'm not against them. And again, I've known a few Knights of Columbus who are also Freemasons. Just because something is an official doctrine doesn't mean the people will necessarily always follow it. You need to keep that in mind. A rule is a rule. How often it's enforced or how regularly it's enforced is a much more of a questionable thing. I will take it because John Cena is one of my favorite wrestlers. I think he might be my favorite wrestler of all time. Yes, Christopher, I got a big forehead. I also got a big watch count for this stream. Please hit like and subscribe. I would be grateful. Even to have just 49 people watching. I mean, I know this isn't quite high altitude investing numbers. I know high altitude investing does really good numbers on his stream, but to have had over 100 people watching is truly, truly an honor. So thank you for making this possible. Again, all I can tell you is I've met people who are both Knights of Columbus and Freemasons. So you can believe me or not believe me. Again, that's not, I understand there may be an official rule that says a Knight of Columbus cannot be a Freemason, but just because there's an official rule doesn't mean everybody will follow it. I do like jean shorts. I have no legs, so any type of short is a short that I like. Knight of Columbus, it's another civic community group. It was started by the Catholic Church. Actually, it was started it was started outside of the Catholic Church, but then the Catholic Church adopted it and turned it into a kind of quasi-religious civic organization and civic group. They're a great group of guys. I love them. Obviously, many Knights of Columbus will not be fans of Freemasonry because the Catholic Church disavows Freemasonry, but that doesn't stop. I can say for me, I love the Catholic faith. I love they're awesome people. And the Knights of Columbus is a wonderful organization. I think within Freemasonry, within the world, we need to see more civic organizations and civic groups, whether it be the Knights of Columbus, the Elks, the Moose, or the Freemasons. What is Freemasonry? Freemasonry is a civic organization, a community group that evolved from stonemasonry guilds from the Middle Ages. So my favorite scary movie is A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, The Dream Child, or A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5. A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, The Dream Master, or A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, The Dream Child. My favorite franchise is Nightmare on Elm Street. I have so many cool things, so many autographs and signatures. I adore those movies. My favorite franchise is Nightmare on Elm Street, but I tend to love them all. Everything from A Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Child's Play, Halloween, through to Scream. I know he did last summer, Urban Legend, through to all those one and dones, like all the 80s horror films like The Prowler, The Mutilator, through to like Sorority Row, House on Sorority Row, through to all the remakes, through to like the straight to video schlock that I love, like Leprechaun, Puppet Master. I love them all. Um, do you want to be my prison husband, Rodolph? Because you can do better than me as well. He left me for somebody else because I was too ugly for him. What can I say? Um, I mean, Masons do charity work. Benevolence and charity is a major part of being a Freemason. Sometimes, it's not required. Freemasonry is not a charity, but that's not to say that we within Freemasonry do not very often. Um, you know, I know Masons who, for example, have donated to hospitals, have donated to soup kitchens or food banks, have actually gone as a lodge and served dinner at homeless shelters. There's a ton of Masonic Charities Foundations does incredible work. Um, um, well, first hit the like and subscribe button, though. Before you do anything else, hit the like and subscribe button. I will say God bless Freemasons. God bless everyone. I hope everyone can find the blessing of God or their supreme being as they understand it. Um, Good for them. I mean, you're not going to hear me say anything negative about the Knights of Columbus. I think they're a wonderful organization. Um, don't forget the Shriners. So legend, I mean, it does in the sense that it's annoying and it kind of, it blocks up the chat with a bunch of stuff that, I then have to read through to get to the appropriate comments. It doesn't really bother me, but I do know some people who've been on the stream, like watching the stream, it really bothers them. And I don't want them to be bothered by it either. So I will sometimes go a little bit more forcefully now at people saying foolish stuff. Nice try, Mr. Bad. Not going to say that. Can you tell us more about Freemasons? I feel like you're being a little bit sarcastic, John Holmes. Again, I'll give you the basic. It's a civic and community group that's existed for over 300 years, evolved from stonemasons. Um, we are going to end this stream shortly. It's been an awesome stream. Again, I've had over 100 people watching. So today at 10 a.m., January 3rd, 10 a.m., I'm going to start doing several hour streams, hour on, hour off, hour on, hour off. The reason being, I've been told by YouTube I have a ton of audience members who are hanging out on Saturdays that I'm not reaching. So I do not, because I'm not a Shriner, but the Shriners ride those little bikes and they're awesome. Some Masons have swords as part of kind of the furniture of a lodge. It depends on, well, most lodges, they'll have two swords for two specific officers. They're ceremonial. I mean, honestly, most of them are so dull they couldn't cut butter. But they're meant to look as part of like a uniform or part of an office. Um, well, no, it doesn't make me jealous because, I'm so handsome. Nothing makes me jealous. Freemasons are way more handsome than the Knights of Columbus. So we don't need your fancy swords. And I'll say it, we're the more handsome fellas. So just live with that. Oh yeah, I mean, I still see them on commercials, Dawkins, but less so. My suspicion is it's probably next. It's probably not as monetarily, like it's probably not as economically efficient to have commercials anymore because so many people are watching streaming services that advertising through commercials is probably not as important or not as helpful. Having said that, I do still see a ton of Shriners commercials. So I mean, to me, they're probably still around. They're just not as frequent. Um, can I say what the most important lesson in Freemasonry? That's so rude. I'm going to say it. We in Freemasonry are the most handsome civic group, and we are more handsome than the Knights of Columbus. If Knights of Columbus disagree, jump on this stream and tell me that you're the most handsome. I will start a debate about who is the most handsome. I'm happy to have that debate. Look at this face. If you can't see that Masons are the most handsome based on this face, I don't even know what you're talking about. I would say the most important lesson Freemasonry has taught me, the globalist, is the value of temperance. Um, um, because I do have a tendency, unfortunately, when like things are going well, I have a tendency to get very excited and presumptuous, and when things are going not so well, I have a tendency to get very like frustrated and despondent, and that's not healthy either way. You need to keep like a certain level of equanimity, equanimity or temperance. So I'd say that's the most valuable lesson. 45, you're absolutely right. They do a ton of great work with a lot of different medical things. Um, well, those are two separate things, right? I mean, that's like asking me, would I rather have pizza or tacos? Can't I just have both if I wanted both? Again, that's assuming I'm Jewish, which I may or may not be. But when people, because I forgot, a lot of people ask these questions and they'll say things like, would you rather have Freemasonry or Christianity, or would you rather have Freemasonry or like a political party? And it's like those two things aren't mutually exclusive. In the same way, I can have pizza and tacos. I can have Freemasonry and a religious belief. They're not, it's not one or the other. Um, that's a good question, Dawkin. I'd have to really think about that. Um, You should go to the dinner for the Knights of Columbus. I love the Knights of Columbus. I'm just kidding when I say that Freemasons are more handsome than Knights of Columbus. You should absolutely go to your charity dinner. Knights of Columbus are a wonderful organization. They are just as handsome as I am. Um, the thing I like least about being a Mason and Masonry in general is, especially in North America, how very often we don't require the dedication to grow the craft. We tell men, and I guess it's fair, but we tell people put your work and family first. What that often translates to is people will join and just not show up for the lodge. And they won't be told they have to, or they won't be held accountable. And if you're not willing to dedicate yourself to Freemasonry, you not only will you not grow in Freemasonry, but Freemasonry itself will not grow. And you're doing a disservice to the lodge. Um, Thank you, high altitude. I have, and it's been wonderful. Freemasons want the Fez hat. I don't know what you mean by that. Freemasons, like the Fez is an important part of Masonic traditions. You should give it to the lodge. The Fez is really, really cool. A really cool part of Freemasonry. So yeah, Mit Mitnak says shalom. Shalom to you as well. So Freemasonry is not a religion, Caesar. Freemasonry is separate from religion. It fulfills a different purpose. First of all, Freemasonry does not make any promises for salvation nor threats of damnation. Going to a Masonic lodge will not get you into heaven, and not going to Masonic lodge will not result in you being in hell. Freemasonry is not about your eternal salvation or damnation. Also, Freemasonry is democratic. Religions are not. Right? Within a religion, you have a common book, a Bible, a Quran, a Torah, and then you have an agreed upon interpretation of that book based upon a priest or a rabbi telling you what the appropriate interpretation is. Within Freemasonry, you have common experiences, common rituals, but every Freemason is free to determine his own or her own interpretation of it, and no one can tell him differently. Um, so Jay Navarro, what I always recommend is if you ever discover, something that is Masonic within a thrift store and you choose to buy it, I would encourage you to return it to the local Masonic lodge because you never know how important it might be to that local Masonic lodge. I can't force you to. You have the right to keep it yourself, and if you do, you do. It's perfectly within your rights. But if you can, I'd appreciate you returning it. Um, so I would never tell anybody to keep a secret from the confessional booth. If somebody is a Catholic and a Freemason and they go to confession, they should be free to confess whatever they so choose. I'm not going to tell anybody what to do. Again, Freemasonry does not have secrets; it has private elements within the ceremonies. Um, I can speak about whatever I want. I choose not to. Within Freemasonry, you do take obligations, and one of those obligations is to maintain the privacy of, certain aspects of Freemasonry. However, again, that obligation has been broken a million times. All the secrets are online. The reason that I choose not to reveal the secrets is not because of the obligation, it's because of rather why I think the obligations are important, not just the obligations, why I think the rituals are important. And one thing we are specifically instructed to do is if we ever, learn of a Masonic brother who is committing any type of criminal acts or crimes, we are to inform the authorities immediately. We are not to keep criminal acts secret because Freemasons should obey the laws of the country in which they live or in which they are passing through. King, I have enjoyed Dan Brown. I think that stuff's really fun. Like genuinely, I think that stuff is an absolute blast. I love Dan Brown. So yeah, I'm going to give one more shout out to hitting the like and subscribe button. Um, I would really, really love a few more likes, a few more subscribes, but this stream has been a blast. It's been wonderful to see all the people. Again, over 100 people. I remember when this stream was 4 people. I'd be on for an hour and there'd be 4 people watching. I remember being on for an hour once and I had one viewer the entire hour. It was Courtney from Tex, if you guys remember him. So it's a real honor. I mean, I've never heard that. I would tell a Catholic Mason that he is free to within a confessional booth, he is free to talk about whatever he wants. There's nothing within Freemasonry that would require confession. Again, to my knowledge, I mean, I don't know what confession is about necessarily. But I've never seen, based on my experiences within Freemasonry, over 1,000 meetings around the world, I have never seen anything within Freemasonry that would be against one's civic, religious, legal, ethical responsibilities. So I can't imagine what it is you would have to confess. But I would say you should always feel comfortable talking to your religious leadership about anything, including Freemasonry. Um, well, it's wonderful to have you back and to have this stream has had over, let's see the number, like 1,000 and something. 2,109 viewers, which is wonderful. But what's really been grateful is to have 100 of them watching at one time, 105. Nobody's forced to join. No, nobody is forced to join. Nobody is chosen to join in that sense. If you're interested in joining, you can approach a lodge, express your interest, express why you're interested, and then the lodge can, vote on you and do all that. But you approach of your own. Nobody is forced to join. Do Freemasons? I mean, Freemasons may say curse words. I swear all the time. I say curse words. I probably shouldn't, but I can have a sailor's mouth sometimes. Um, I mean, Freemasons are imperfect creatures, so I suppose Freemasons have in the past cheated on their spouses, but it'd be weird. Like, if I came to a Masonic lodge and the Masons were talking to me about cheating on their spouses, I would be very confused as to what the hell they were doing. I mean, they could just do it. I don't know why they would talk about it in lodge. It'd be strange. And I would say Freemasonry, in my experience, usually encourages you to be faithful. I mean, it encourages you to be faithful to your family. But if I was in a lodge and there was some Mason talking about cheating on his wife, I would be very confused by that. A, why are you telling me? And B, why are you doing that? So I guess that's my response to that. Um, but we don't condone adultery. We certainly do not do that. Um, Dearborn is now, I mean, I love Dearborn. I think Dearborn is an incredible city. Limujin the Great. Dearborn is wonderful. I love the brothers there. Many of them are Muslim, but many are not. There, it's a great city. Michigan in general is a great state. I don't think it gets near the respect it deserves, to be perfectly honest. I think it's actually pretty incredible in terms of as far as states go. Um, I mean, would I confront that Mason? I don't. It depends. So, like, if I was sitting in lodge and some Mason got up in lodge and I don't know why, but for some reason said like tonight I'm going to cheat on my wife, I would definitely approach him and be like, first of all, you shouldn't be talking about this stuff in lodge, and second, it's probably not a good idea. If I were to find out a Mason was cheating on his wife, like I don't know, I just learned of that information, I probably wouldn't confront him on that because to me that's more of a family matter, that's a personal issue. If he asked me if he should do it or not, I would tell him not to. But if I just found out, I mean, that's his family's business. If I were to find out that a Mason, let's say, committed a crime, like let's say killed somebody, I wouldn't confront him. I would call the police immediately and advise the police that he had killed somebody. And then I would tell him after the fact, like, yes, I turned you into the police because we in Freemasonry do not condone criminal acts. No, gay things do not happen at Masonic rituals. Um, Maybe. I've never heard of that. It's possible. What I would say, though, 45 shirt is, again, if I were to find a Mason were committing adultery, I don't think I'd confront him. I don't think I would excommunicate him because I think that's a family matter. But if they're doing something criminal, that would be different. Including, let's say they were these people who had like two families, like were married twice, which I guess is what polygamy is the term. I might confront him then because being married twice is a criminal act in most jurisdictions. The Great One, I did not know that, but I do want to visit the UP. I'm ashamed to say, despite being next to Michigan and traveling to Michigan frequently and loving Michigan, never made it to the UP. The furthest north I made it in Michigan was to Bay City, which was incredible. I love Bay City. So I have not. We do not sacrifice animals. We do not sacrifice anything except for our time. So, which is, well worth it if you are willing to put the time in and make the sacrifices. I've never used, I don't, I mean, I don't use the language of excommunication. I think people in the stream have. I mean, so I respond to them. I mean, I would use the term demit or suspend. So, um, yeah, Mr. Bad is getting kind of annoying. So it's not a pro religion. I mean, I would use the term suspend in the same way if I'm part of a knitting club and there's annual dues and I don't pay them, I will be suspended from the knitting club. It's suspension and it's demission. I just use the term excommunicate because of a comment above. Um, but I mean, the better way to think about it would be suspension or demit. Suspension for non-payment of dues, for example, or if you, let's say you do commit a crime, you would be suspended for unmasonic conduct. Or you could demit, which is you can choose to, leave the craft for whatever reason, or leave the lodge and join a different lodge. Um, Thank you, High Altitude Investing, and thank you again for all of your support of this channel as well. You've been wonderful in supporting it. It's thanks to you that I'm having some of these great streams. Um, well, we don't really do that either. I mean, there's not really like a, there can be the breaking of bread in some Masonic ceremonies, but I wouldn't think about it in that sense. Certainly, primarily, what we sacrifice is our time. Buffalo Chicken, it's me. Thank you for being here. Daniela, thank you for being here. I am going to be ending this stream very soon. I've loved it. It's been incredible. Too many sliced greens. Please hit like and subscribe. Um, but it is 2:48 a.m. So I am exhausted. I've been having a great time. Buffalo chicken, it has been so long. If you're having trouble finding this stream, what you can do is make sure to turn on your notifications when you subscribe. That way, whenever I come on stream, they'll get a notification bell and you'll know that I'm streaming and you'll be able to find me that way. Um, I don't know what it means to desecrate the Eucharist, Caesar. I don't know what the rules are. I mean, again, I think so. I don't really know what that means. I mean, I'm Anglican. Again, I never want to say my religion because I don't like people. In my past religious practices, when I took communion, you took it at the church. There were some people I know who would take a second for somebody who was sick or ill. Like they had a neighbor who was older and couldn't make it to church, and they would actually take a second like piece of bread or cracker and a little sip of wine and like a to-go cup, and they would take it to their neighbor. Um, I mean, I don't think anybody should. I guess I don't know what the rules are around that. What I'd say is if the Catholic faith, if the rule is you take your communion when it's given to you, then you should do it that way and you shouldn't take it. I mean, I would find it weird if a Catholic Freemason came to me and told me, I've got this Eucharist. I don't know why he would do that. I've never seen that happen before. Um, well, they shouldn't do that, Caesar. I mean, I don't know what I would say to them because it's not my religious faith, but I would I would find it weird. I guess what I'd say is don't disrespect the Eucharist. Are you a Freemason? I am a Freemason. I've been a Freemason Grundle cheese since 2007, so almost 20 years, which is crazy. Please take a moment, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, because I think you're new to the stream. We have got really incredible stream. A lot of people showing up, and I'm grateful for that. So thank you so much to everyone who's made this possible. Um, some new subscribers as well, so thank you for that. Honestly, it does. It's work, so I'm not going to pretend like it always makes me happy, because there are challenges that go into it as well. But that doesn't change the fact that for all of those challenges, there's also a lot of reward. So it's one of those things where it's like you have the reward and you have the challenges that come with it, that come with everything. All right, we're going to be ending this stream very soon because it is 2:52 in the morning. So I still need to get myself to sleep at some point. This is crazy, especially because I'm doing another stream at 10 a.m., 10 to 11, and then 12 to 1, and then et cetera, et cetera. So um, thank you. Don't forget Buffalo Chicken Wrap. The way that these streams grow and this channel grows is by that greatest tool, word of mouth, WOM. So please share this stream with other people. Consider sharing this stream with other people, hanging out with, let other people know about this stream. I'd appreciate it. You can share it on your social media. So Freemasons may accept felons. I don't really know what that means. It depends on the felony and the jurisdiction. Never prejudge. Same thing with a court martial. I mean, never prejudge it. What I always tell people is if you want to join Freemasonry, but you're afraid you won't be allowed for whatever reason, you can always, just go there anyways. Explain what happened, explain the court martial, explain the felony, and let the lodge decide. But don't prejudge it. That's not going to be, that's not going to be a helpful. That's not a helpful thing. You shouldn't prejudge it because maybe you committed a felony decades ago, but you've served your time, you've learned some things, you've gone to counseling. right? Freemasonry is not going to, in that circumstance, kind of kick you out of the craft or anything like that. That'd be very silly. Hello, Samantha Watkins. Thank you for being here. Homer, do you mean Homer of the Iliad and Odyssey fame? Because he was a wonderful part of, Western literature. Um, I used to love the Iliad and the Odyssey. I used to read that stuff all the time. It's been a long time. I got to get back into it, especially because I just saw the Odyssey movie trailer and it looks incredible. Um, Not yet. I'm definitely not Mr. Beast or J fan, but I'm working on it. So maybe one day I'll get to be as up to Mr. Beast level. Anything's possible. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I will be back on at 10 a.m. Going to do an hour on, an hour off. So I hope to see you then. Yes, I do. Simple Rick, you look like someone who should hit the like and subscribe button. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.